Welcome to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that I bring you each and every single week, where I talk about whatever may be on my mind, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the talc. That's very important. I am your host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, and I am joined once again by this very, very handsome Southern Nola man, Mr. Kyle Thomas. Welcome back, sir.
What's up, Ian? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, sir. Third time is a charm, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And we and you're
It's been a
looking at,
charm every time so far for me, so I got no complaints, man. It's always good company,
yeah,
whether we're talking like this or sitting down at a bar.
yeah, which we have done since, which is awesome. So you are dealing with a couple of lucky charms today. One American, one over here in the rainy parts of Ireland. I would.
That's it.
I would probably trade. Some of our rainfall for some of your beautiful New Orleans heat.
It's raining right now and cold.
Oh, really?
Outside. Yeah. For us, it's cold. It's in the 40s.
It's still warm though, right?
No, it's in the 40s.
Yeah, but like we're in the minus fucking 40s.
Well, y'all get like real cold. But like where I live, anything 40s and under is pretty cold.
Yeah. I get you. Well, okay. Well, that's cool. That makes me feel a little bit better then, knowing that you guys have some
that we're suffering too.
Yeah, exactly. We have some pretty cool shit to announce today, especially for our European listeners. You now, finally, after what we've known each other, well, we've been in conversation probably in about best part of 10 years, but we actually had our first podcast 3 years ago. You were one of the early guests on the Dynamo's Dozen show, where it all began here. And you now have found yourself making your way into the world of podcasting, finally. And I think for anybody that has followed you on, on the Kyle Thomas Facebook page and your own personal page, will realize that you've definitely got a lot of humor in your utility belt, and you like to fuck with Alexa quite a lot.
Yeah. The class clown never grows up, I guess,
Yeah, there you go. You were the class clown, right?
Yeah, it's one of them anyway. Not all the time, but
you had an entourage, right?
I had my family, yeah. And my parents and my siblings. I'm the youngest, so I was always putting on a show for them, and they always thought it was hilarious whether I was trying to be funny or not. I can remember being little and being angry with them because they were all laughing and I was being serious. They thought I was just putting on a show and being serious about something, and then I get mad, like, y'all laughing at me.
Fuck you guys. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually sounds really cute though, in fairness. Like just a little kid just going, "Hey man, I'm being serious here. Come on."
I'm serious. Look how cute he is. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of cool because, and you probably see where I'm coming from there, and you probably agree with me. Like, definitely in the last kind of few years, you've kind of shown that different kind of stuff that you like to just take the piss, on Facebook. And obviously, that's a side to you that obviously only the people that are close to you know. But you've kind of shown that, and when we look at, first and foremost, before we get into any plugs on the podcast, what actually gave you the idea of thinking, okay, maybe I could do a podcast here? Like, what was the kind of mindset of that? Was it a suggestion or something that you maybe thought about yourself that you would like to try? Or
I'm at a point now where I'm not even really sure. I can't recall if anyone said, "Man, you should really try podcasting." I don't recall anyone doing that necessarily. It doesn't mean someone didn't suggest it to me when I was having drinks somewhere on this earth. It could be that somebody went,
I don't even think I suggested it to you at all, did I? I don't even think. No,
I don't think so. I mean, I just figured I'd give it a try. I see so many people having fun with it, and it's like, I've got stories to tell, that's for sure, and I've got new music and old music, and what better way to show people, an opportunity to meet the Kyle Thomas that other people might know, and just figure it's probably best to do it myself, introduce myself to people my way, on my terms,
And what an awesome way you've done it. KT's Hallowed Sound podcast. I hope I got enough bass in that to kind of really sell it. KT's Hallowed Sound podcast. I hope that's
the intro.
Is that all right?
KT's Hallowed Sound podcast. Yeah,
you're listening to KT.
It's like some kind of monster.
Yeah, well, I was a big fan of the Monster Squad back in the day, so I'm just trying to do my best broken Frankenstein / Dracula accent, but like without being Romanian, It's
right.
So I mean, it's the first episode is up, and we can announce as well over here in Europe, you are going to be releasing the podcast as well as part of our network, Dynamo Podcast Network as well. The audio and the YouTube will be on it from this side as well, which is really cool. And for me, it's an honor, you know what I mean? Considering, I grew up listening to your music, and now I get to have your voice as part of my network as well. So that's really cool. And something, something I'm appreciative of. In terms
to have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. Obviously, when you gave me the idea that you wanted to do the podcast, and we kind of, should I say, no, in no way, shape, or form did I help you, with anything other than just giving you tips on how to get your podcast up and running.
You were very helpful to me. You made it a lot easier for me to want to go after, because it sounded attainable the way you described it, and basically the whole, I think you could do it, and I think you could do it well. So it was like, oh, great. I've got somebody that, first of all, that I respect and am friends with, and secondly, somebody that's got experience in this field. So it's helpful. I mean, I don't know anything about this. I'm really just kind of winging it. But I'm having fun. It's fun, man. It's cool.
Well, no, look, I appreciate that, dude. I appreciate that. And I mean, like, and the thing about it is, I was being honest with you. I mean, I'd had many conversations with you, not just on podcasts. We've had many conversations where we're just shooting the shit. You show me your yard, on a beauty New
and
Orleans.
Where I ask questions to Alexa.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, definitely. You have the personality for it. And I think what you have as well is that it's the Hallowed Sound podcast. It really is that. It's a perfect name as well. And obviously it's a throw on one of the songs as well. And it's
right.
I think some of the stories, for anybody that hasn't listened to the show, you're obviously going to listen to it after this. It's a really great it's just a really great show. Even if you're not a big fan of music per se, it's a really nice show that you can listen to somebody talking about experiences in their musical, in their field, and kind of telling stories about how you got into, I mean, without giving anything away, obviously, talking about wanting to play a particular instrument and then coming away with a different instrument because, it always leads back to girls, right? Some really cool little anecdotes in there. And of course, we get to hear some really cool music as well. I know on the first episode, we can probably give away one of the songs that you played was from a project that some people may or may not be familiar with, which is Jones's Lounge. And that was a project that you had worked on. Good Lord, would that have been like early 90s, mid 90s? Would it have been
2001, I think?
I'm way out of the fucking ballpark there. So
that was some time ago for sure. I want to say it was when my firstborn child was maybe not even 2 years old yet.
Oh wow!
And
wow!
Yeah, And we did, what it was Dax Taylor had already put songs together with Jimmy Bauer over at Dave Fortman's studio called, what the hell was that studio called? I'm freaking drawing a blank on it now. I'll think of it in like 25 minutes and just blurt it out.
It's all about segues, dude.
They put these great pieces of music together, and Dax came to me. He was like, "Man, would you be interested in helping me make my songs into like real songs?" Because he, all it was the structures, and we did have to do a little rearranging, but not too much. It was all pretty much there, and so I just worked on it with him. I played a little guitar on it here and there, but mostly just sang. And it's probably one of the best kept secrets in my discography that's just not worldwide released. I want to say the songs are great. The production sounds really good. It's for what we had to work with financially. I mean, it wasn't like $500 or anything, but it was not a major budget. It was Dax just paying for everything out of his own pocket, just working and paying for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, when we take a break here, we'll definitely play the song that you played on your show, which, in fairness, was a nice little subtle hint I liked. I'd suggest to you, you should.
Somebody told me they liked that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, good Lord. Because that was like, I mean, that was a song that when I got into gigging, that along with the Alabama Thunder Pussy record, more so than the Exhorder stuff, believe it or not, was actually really, when I got my second band, was when I really kind of started to, when you start to find your range a little bit more and you're not trying to be anybody as such.
Yep.
I was found myself going, oh, fucking, because I was singing it constantly in my head, going like, sometimes I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to try and be so angry all the time, you know what I mean? But everybody has their little spell of trying to be angry and girthy and, just basically trying to tear the fucking vocal cords out of their throat. And I was like, hey, this guy just went from this anal lust to sometime. I was like, all right, that's a transition. I like that shit. I can try that. And no, it was really, really cool. And I think it's a record that you did mention as well that you are at some point going to try and it is available on YouTube now, obviously, as well, as you said.
Yeah, you can stream it for a listen on YouTube. I've had somebody present an idea to me, but I haven't spoken with Dax about it. I intend to very soon.
Sure,
but
it should be done. Don't listen to it on YouTube.
I got so much on my plate right now. It's not like I'm sitting around with nothing to do.
Don't listen to it on YouTube, motherfuckers. Wait for it to be properly reintroduced and produced. I think it's
go ahead and listen to it. It's better to start listening to it now because you're still going to want it later.
Oh, damn straight, man. It's an
pretty
awesome
good,
record.
man. It's a good record, really.
Awesome record. It's still personally one of my favorites, one of my favorite pieces of work that you've done. So let's get back to the podcast a little bit. So the Hallowed Sound, in terms of you mentioned to me as well something that even your own wife said within listening to the first 10 minutes of it, that's you. She said to you that's you. Like that's perfect. How important was it for you? Like, and I suppose it's a kind of a double barrel question, this, but like, how important was it for you to kind of come across as your actual self? And also, subconsciously, was there any kind of thing where you were going, shit, no, I need to redo that because I'm not feeling, I think I'm, because you understand the question I'm asking. Sometimes when people get in front of a microphone when they're speaking, it's a different story than when they're singing, because you're going, right, you're basically being a radio presenter for 40 minutes to an hour,
right.
And
right.
That can be something very, very different, because usually when there's a microphone in front of you, you've got like this hellfire voice that comes out of it. And, what was the dynamic like that in that for you? Did you find it kind of relaxing? Did you find it therapeutic being able to kind of sit down and speak about, memories and stuff like that?
I really thought long and hard, and I watched a few videos about how it's done and what people recommend and this and that.
Sure,
I
sure.
really I just kind of thought about what I would like to hear if I was listening to something. So obviously musical selections, that's, you got to have music at the party. So
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um but I figure most people are probably listening that are most excuse me, most of the ones that are listening are probably listening to it because of my music. So I'll
Yeah.
play some maybe a little bit more off the beaten path to make it interesting and to get some exposure for those projects as well. I
Show
you
your
know
body of work as well, I guess. You know, that
yeah,
people don't
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And man, I just lost my train of thought, man.
That's probably my fault. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Help me out. Where did we leave off before that?
So, yeah, so you were saying like it was a case where you were getting a chance to kind of look at old projects and speak about music, but show like maybe
Yes,
because it would have been easier for you to play like the stuff that everybody knows from Exhorder and whatnot. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And that's, I mean, that's good and all, but there's so much more out there that I've done that just hasn't gotten the exposure or the recognition. So doing that, I found that it was important to advise people as to what's going on with Exhorder and Trouble. I did also bring up the fact that I'm doing a solo album and then failed to talk about the solo album throughout the entire episode. So now I know what I'm talking about in episode 2.
So that's how train of thought works with you. So it's not my fault.
No, no, dude, it's literally like what's the meme? Oh, squirrel.
Oh, squirrel! Wow.
Yeah.
No, dude, it absolutely happens to me as well. It's like like we're big fans of all the British comedy, like and Billy Connolly, for example, is a perfect example.
What a funny man.
Oh,
Absolutely
dude,
hilarious.
Billy Connolly used to talk about, I used to talk about something and then I'd have to come back to it. Like I'll come back to it eventually, I promise. And like he'd always come back to the joke about an hour later. You were like, shit, how does this guy do it? So I
He
know
was, he was
exactly.
funny as hell. It really was.
Oh, dude, absolutely one of the goats, one of the greatest. But I do like that, yeah, and I suppose today is not really about you giving away any musical projects or something like that because that's obviously for your podcast. But you did mention obviously you're working on some pro like a solo project, for example. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
you've been talking about that for a long time. Has that been in the works for a long time, or is that something that maybe has happened in the last year or so?
There's I didn't just start working on it because you have to consider the time that I put into
Sure.
at least 2 of the songs that one of them I started writing in the 90s and wrote
Oh,
most of it in the 90s. I really mostly just finalized the arrangement and tweaked a few things between then and now. But that song's pretty much from like the end of the Floodgate days. We used to actually rehearse one of these songs a little bit. It never did get too far, but uh, it's nice to finally have it out of my head and onto a recording that I can
sure.
listen to and go,
Yeah.
that's the best part about songwriting. It's a relief to the artist to get this out to where everybody can hear it, not just me. I'm not just being haunted by this alone. I'd rather have everyone else miserable with me.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Like it's like no, I hear you, dude. It's and the great thing about it is now, I mean,
All this horrible music with everyone.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I had an idea for a question earlier as well, and I don't know whether you're going to kick my ass next time you see me for this question, or whether you're going to go, okay, I need to think about this one. Um, I know you're a big fan of bands, and that's a great thing about especially metal bands, rock bands, just music in New Orleans. It's so all intertwined in your culture because it's probably the most cultured city it's definitely the most cultured city within the United States of
North
America.
America, one of the more in North. It's like it's older than America. We had our
Yeah,
300th
exactly.
birthday a few years.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's you got Irish, Spanish, French, African. It's just it's an amazing
Yeah, it's a
kind of
melt.
Yeah, it's an amazing concoction of different musical styles and tastes, and it tells in your music. You know what I mean? There's a reason that millions of people flood to Mardi Gras. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Each year. Um, so I had this idea for a question. I was like, if there was three songs, right? Just three. If you had to pick three, now I'll give you time over the course of the podcast to come back to me on this. If there was three songs that you could record that were written by artists or bands or whatever that you would love to have a chance of covering, like in an actual recording, what would they be?
Oh, wow. Well, I can't answer that 100% truthfully right now because I'm actually in the process of doing that. So, so that's a
We
secret.
didn't speak
But that's a, I
beforehand,
mean,
people. God's honest truth. We did not speak about this beforehand.
that's that's a trade secret, industry secret right now. No, seriously, I have some that I'm working on that are really coming along, really cool. I'm really excited, and people that I've played it for seem to really like it too. So that's coming hopefully sooner than later.
Cool.
So
Well, you can tell me after the show, but I hope
yeah,
you
sure,
do anyway.
maybe. But no, there's a million of them I'd love to do. Right place, wrong time by Dr. John. That's always
Awesome.
been what I would love to do.
Yeah,
Uh, Destroyer by the Kinks. How fun that would be. I mean, there's
that's a
just
good show. Yeah.
possibilities are endless. You know.
Is there
I'd,
anything?
I'd
Is there anything
redo
else?
Queen.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I said I'd redo Queen stuff. I'll do
Oh,
redo anything. I don't care. It'd
and
be
you could
fun.
do that. Yeah, you're one of the lucky people that would be able to probably pull that shit off as well. I mean,
That's an idea. You just gave me an idea.
I would love to hear you do something off like Power Slave. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Because
man.
I think the way
I've
you're
played I played most of that song, most of that album. I was in an Iron Maiden tribute band over 10 years ago, actually probably closer to 20 years ago. and and we did everything from the first 5 albums. It was so much fun. It really was.
I'd say, what was it like actually trying to do like a Bruce Dickinson voice? And no, not trying to do a Bruce Dickinson voice, but like in that octave and singing within that range. Like, was it a test or was it just something that you found easy?
We were rehearsing one night. We were playing
Super
Flight of
question
Icarus.
from me. I know the answer.
Here we go. I have to end with a small story, and this is just the truth. We were rehearsing. It's a hot day in a warehouse. We got air conditioning, so we closed the overhead door playing, and we played Flight of Icarus. As soon as it was over, you heard on the overhead door. So these guys we opened up the door. There's these two guys standing there, and one of them goes, "Hey man, we just wanted to let y'all know that Bruce Dickinson's about a block down the street, and he's really upset. He wants his voice back."
Oh, hell yeah.
And everybody started laughing. I'm like, "Man, thank you." He's definitely complimenting me on my delivery of the song. But I mean, I don't think Bruce is in any trouble with me stealing his voice or anything. But it was a compliment for sure. Bruce is such an accomplished singer, and I'm such a fan. So, yeah, I love playing the Iron Maiden tunes. I love playing the Dynamo songs. My favorite album, Iron Maiden's Killers, anyway. So
Killers is an
we
awesome
did
album. Yeah.
oh man, insane. So we just did a good job of selecting from all of the first 5 records and not going too heavy on one. But we kind of had to go a little heavy on Power Slave because we did Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, and that's like
Oh, shit.
1,000.
Did you do that? You done the
It's like
whole
half the
song?
show. Yeah, man, we did the whole. One of the guys, the bass player, did the poetry reading in the during
Oh, really?
the shipwreck. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
the Lost at Sea
Yeah, dude,
drought.
of course. Yeah, I love
So good.
that. It's funny. It's funny how you kind of find when you get older, and I'm sure I'm sure you've had this like a million times over, how you kind of fucking rekindle this love for bands that you really, really appreciated, like in your kind of late teens to early 20s. And then you kind of go off them because you go on to something cooler because, you got this group of friends that are into this more extreme kind of stuff. But then I found myself recently kind of just falling in love again with old bands like Judas Priest and Maiden, and looking back at the old stuff. And it's actually like a journey in and of itself, isn't it? Like when you go back and kind of revisit that stuff. Or else I'm having a midlife crisis. Help me out here, brother. It's something.
I'll be honest with you. Most of what I listen to, my brother always laughs at me, because if it wasn't written before 1983, you don't listen to it, or you don't know what it is.
Sure.
written after 83. Because
I was only on the way in 83. I was born in 84. So I was only on the way. So technically.
Which year were you born?
I was born in 84, in June 84.
Same age. We talked about this last week.
Yeah,
you're the same age as my nephew. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So, squirrel.
Squirrel. It's true though, isn't it? Like you kind of like, because 84 was such a fucking. I always make a joke with my better half Rachel, and I'm always like, dude, I was just born to be successful somehow, and I'm always joking because it was like 84 with all the best shit happened. All the best shit, you know, all the best movies came out, best books, best music. And I was like, yeah, it's like when you look back, and it was like 84 was a hell of a year, actually. All joking aside, you know, it really,
no doubt about that, man.
Yeah,
I was a freshman in high school that year.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. So we're not too far behind.
No, like I'm still young enough to be like an older brother for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had to learn. My little brother Joe is going to be listening to this, going, "This is awesome," and I'll be like, "I wasn't the greatest big brother in the world, but that's because I didn't have one." You know, it's like you're learning on the fly, right? You were the youngest.
You had to make it up as you went along.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. For the amount of ass whoopings I gave him back in the day, I'm sure he would easily give me them back tenfold if I was to piss him off now. So
I've got no younger siblings, and my sister's oldest is the same age as you, and we spent a lot of time together, with me just being a young 14 when he was born. And so, I babysat him a lot as a teenager for sure, but he was also like a little sibling to me. So of course, we clashed, as teenagers are so easy to get along with, right? And I had to torment the poor child. So now he's big. He could kick my ass if he wants to.
It's like gorillas in the mist, my man. You know what I mean? That's what we are. We're just trying to establish our place in life somehow, at that age especially. Like, you know what I mean? You're just trying to establish some sort of dominance, and then it comes back to bite you in the ass then sometimes. It's like, yeah, shit, you're bigger than me now. You know,
man, I used to tell him when he was a toddler, and I tell him, you may be bigger than me one day, but you will never be able to kick my ass. And
my exact words.
No, I'd say butt, because he was a little kid, right? So I say, you'll never be able to kick my butt. And he goes, one, I'll kick your butt. And he'd come at me, and then you do the stiff arm, hold him off. Well,
yeah, the palm face.
He's much larger than me now and could probably break me in half, because he came second in state in wrestling back in high school. So he's a bad mofo.
Yeah,
I think he does jiu-jitsu now too.
Yeah, okay, well that makes him even more dangerous. I was gonna say, like, to start off with, if he's an amateur wrestler and he's that good, you don't really want to fuck with amateur wrestlers. But if he's now learning some jiu-jitsu, so he knows how to choke your shit out, then you're kind of fucked. So it's best to kind of leave that one on the shelf and just go, hey, all those memories you have, it's delusion, man. That never happened. I was always by your side, brother.
Yeah, he put me down at a wedding I got too drunk at one time. It was at my sister's house. They got a big piece of land, and the reception spilled into the house for the rest of the evening. I was really drunk, so I was drunk and mouthy, because I think I was drinking whiskey at this point, and that's not a good idea ever.
Fire water, yeah.
And so he just took me down in a wrestling move. I'm so drunk, even if I was in my best, it'd been tough, but Lord have mercy, he just put me right down. He'd be like, you all right? You all right? And I'd be like, yeah. And as soon as he let me up, now I'm pissed. And then I'd go back after him, and he just put me right back down again.
So that became like a game of tag.
Yeah, of course. Like drunk uncle fucking acting like an ass.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. I'm not an uncle. Yeah, I'm definitely not an uncle, but it happens to the best of us, though. Whiskey is a madman's drink, as they say. Um, in terms of where we are now in 2021, still, unfortunately, still with COVID being a thing that we thought would eventually kind of go and piss off somewhere, but we are still here. What has life been like over in New Orleans? You know, in terms of, has there been like lockdowns, not lockdowns? Have you guys, are you locked down currently now, or?
Funny that you should say that. Not kidding.
Okay,
You couldn't have asked at a better time because it's Mardi Gras season right now. So
sure.
because of that, the parade crews all canceled the parades. The city decided we're not going to have the actual parades. So the mayor, who I don't live in Greater New Orleans, so I don't vote for mayor. I'm not in Orleans Parish. I'm in Jefferson. I live in Metairie, like about 10 miles outside of the city.
So Metairie
But
is a little bit outside the main
it's a
city.
suburb.
Yeah,
It's a suburb of the Greater New Orleans area,
sure.
but it's not a part of the politics or anything.
Yeah.
And she announced today that none of the bars on Bourbon Street will be open. Even if they sell food, Bourbon Street will be closed down. So none of the stores are going to be allowed to sell liquor. So she's literally shutting down the French Quarter and Greater New Orleans during the most important financial holiday.
Yeah, the
of the
most
city.
profitable time. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, you know, I'm all for like safe protocols and stuff, but it's just weird. It seems like there's all kinds of vendettas against it sometimes. I don't know. Maybe I'm not trying to say anything other than the fact that people aren't really happy with what's going on. And I don't know that the mayor's happy with how people perceive what's going on. So I don't know. I'm just glad I don't live in Orleans Parish.
Well, dude, to be honest with you, we're having, and I think this struggle is going on worldwide, in the sense that we're having the same kind of struggle over in Ireland, where we are just basically in lockdown since Christmas. So we're basically saying that, you know what, you can have Christmas, but guess what, it's going to cost you, and you're going to be locked down for the whole month of January. And what I'm really struggling with, not to get too political, but it's worth mentioning that we talk about it, because at the end of the day as well, you can't just suddenly hide behind hide behind some sense of how do I word this without, okay, I may as well just say it, fuck it. You can't just let your balls shrivel into your stomach because the general narrative is to go, oh yeah, whatever they say for us is the best. You know what I mean? You can't just go, oh yeah, whatever they say, I'm going to put my complete and utter trust in them, because that's absolute bollocks, in my opinion, as well.
Come on. Are you suggesting that government sometimes takes advantage of the citizens?
There you go. There you go. Imagine someone like
There's
me say
never
that.
been
Imagine.
any occurrence of this in history ever in any empire or it's a government structure.
Like, you remember the Spanish flu and how legitimate that was too? Good Lord. Yeah. All those boys coming back from war being riddled with some sort of disease that didn't exist. Not to say that COVID isn't, by the way. We've established that COVID is real, but I think the one thing that we're seeing now is what bothers me is that, for example, in Ireland we have like the small coffee shops, the small businesses, like, the really cool coffee shops that you like to go to, that you get the best coffee instead of fucking Starbucks or.
Yeah, the gap.
There you go. Exactly. These places are closing down left, right, and center, while being replaced with a fucking Starbucks, or the pubs that we have.
Yeah.
Those lovely little pubs that you want to see in Ireland. Yeah, I mean, if at this rate, there won't be any of them left, because
It
they're
sure
all.
does seem like corporate grab, doesn't it?
Oh, hell yeah. That's my issue with this. But you know what? You say that to certain people, they will fucking rip your nose off because they're basically just little sheep. And to be honest with you, I'm not really interested in kind of dealing with sheep either, because I don't really need to be educated on having an opinion.
Right.
But you know yourself. You have an opinion in 2021, you're a Trump fan, you're a Nazi, you're a horrible human being, and if you don't agree with our narrative, go fuck yourself. It's like, cool, right back at you, brother or sister. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's crazy how divided the world is at the moment, Kyle.
Yeah. It's
And you
fucked
you
up.
probably see it on social media yourself. Is that a big thing? I mean, obviously, it is a big thing in America at the moment. We've seen it with the election and all that kind of madness that went with it. But I mean, in terms of New Orleans itself, you guys have always seemed like a pretty tight knit community, especially with the horrible stuff that happened with Katrina and stuff. And you guys basically had to fend for yourselves. A lot of people had to fend for themselves during that time, and still are to this day. Have you seen a big divide within the community where you are, or are people kind of sticking together? And
Man, it's tough to say. Some people get really angry with people out in public if they're not doing things the way that they think that they should be done. And to
sure,
me, there's a mask mandate in the store. I'm going to wear a mask in the store and go get what I need and
me
get out,
too.
whether or not, no matter what I believe is right or wrong. Because if that's what it takes to make someone else feel a little bit safer to go to the grocery store, well, then I'll wear the mask. It doesn't hurt.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
my mother's not young. She's got to, take extra protocol uh, and precaution with everything that she does. She's had some issues in the past that she can't afford to get sick. So to me, it's, well, then if everybody just at least tries to show respect to everybody in that regard, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean,
I agree.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not a lot to ask for.
No, dude.
So
I mean, look, I work in a place, in an environment where it's mandatory to wear a mask when you're kind of passing by people, and it's like it's kind of second nature. You're like, okay, I'll put the mask on when I sit down and do my shit. I'll take it off. You know what I mean? I don't think it's.
yeah.
I guess the real kind of fear for a lot of people is like that it's how easy it is to like do that, boy, and do it now, and it's like you're told to do it, and you have no choice in the matter. But I think when you look at what I think when I definitely agree with the point that you just made there. If it does make someone else feel better, especially an older person or a vulnerable person who may be in a
Yeah.
slumber with you, and it makes them feel comfortable, hell yeah, why not do it? Like, it's not gonna, you're not gonna die just because unless you put the mask up for 2 seconds. So I think it's.
I'd recommend washing it regularly, or you will get sick.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Or you get sick from your own smelly breath after.
That's just it. Like you actually have. It's actually not so much for protecting yourself as for protecting others. Is the design for it. But yeah, if you wash it regularly, you should be all right.
Yeah, absolutely,
Sort of
absolutely.
like washing your ass. You want to wash your ass regularly,
Well,
right?
that's it. I mean, you don't want to be going around having people sniff your ass smell on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
It'd be hilarious if people greeted each other like dogs do. Like, hey, yeah, that's him. That'd be so rotten.
Just going up. I love the way you brought the podcast to this level, but you know what? I'm going with it. I think that's fucking hilarious, to be honest with you. I think that's absolutely fucking. Hey, how you doing today?
Yeah, man. Oh God, where you been, man? Oof.
Sharing a stage. Oh man, you fucking definitely use talc, right? I like that. You got that good talcum powder on, baby.
Long trip home, I see.
Hey, chafing much? Must be a hot day over there. It must be a hot day in Metairie, right?
Oh, Jesus.
There's people listening to us right now going, holy shit, where are these two going? But bear with us. Bear with us, guys. It's okay. There's always.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm forever 12, man. I'm always gonna be.
Oh, dude, I'm forever 13 as well. I'm the older fucking cousin here on this one. Then, if you're 12, yeah, like 13, you're just about able to get away with it because you've reached the teens, but you're not quite yet ready to be a teenager. So, I'm gonna stay with the 13.
There
Um,
you go.
Dude, speaking of fucking music, the madness of the world continues. We hear today that Marilyn Manson has been cancelled forever. Which is kind of crazy just when we thought all of this speaking out stuff and people getting accused of stuff was dead and well, at least had gone to sleep for a while. Marilyn Manson gets the feds around around his house, and Trent Reznor is coming out saying, "Hey, fuck that motherfucker! I cut ties with him 25 years ago."
Wow.
Fuck what he says in his book. It's kind of crazy, isn't it, in terms of how 2020 and 2021 has got? But like, it feels almost like that nothing will surprise you at this point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's unfortunate how many weird things have happened this year and in the past. God, now it is almost a year now that everything really, well, it's been a
Yeah.
little over a year, depending on where in the world you are. For the States, it really kind of opened up in March last year. So we're right around a year.
Yeah, we're the same. We were March as well. Yeah, March.
It, it's just insane. And it just seemed, that year didn't even start out with that. That year started out with like the fires. What was it? The fires in Australia or some shit.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then it just, it seemed like every few weeks something
You
more and more
remember
horrible
remember the
kept happening.
Portuguese? Remember there was like one of the mountains erupted in Portugal as well. The fucking lava was coming down the ship.
There's just so much terrible, so many terrible things happening all over the place. And then this thing happens and no one knows what it is and no one knows what to do with it. And every week they're changing what you should do and that people are scared and nobody's got toilet paper. And, you know, it's just weird. Businesses close down, business thrive. There's so many things about it that just I know it's real. I know that much. My wife's a scientist. She works in a laboratory testing for this stuff. But
Oh, it's definitely
yeah,
real. Yeah. Yeah.
but the thing is it's been just so horribly manipulated and exploited. It's shameful, really.
You
I
know
don't know.
what's gonna
Everybody's trying to survive, but you know, I don't know. People are just losing everything over it. It's sad, man.
Well, you've got so many people because when you look at Wuhan, all of a sudden Wuhan is open. They want tourists. They're having raves. They're having fucking bathtub parties, and it's like, didn't this shit happen in Wuhan with a fucking bat? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the rest of the world is suffering. So you're going, what the fuck? Where did this shit really come from? I think that's what really is the question that people are starting to go, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Because we know it's real. We know people are getting sick. I've had it twice personally. Um, once officially, medically, basically got a text to say you've tested positive because back in March when it first happened, there was no tests over in Ireland. They were basically just went down to your local doctor. They were like, okay, you got
Well, I don't
symptoms.
have the flu.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, well, this feels like a flu, doctor. To be honest with you, I think I'm okay. But dude, it was the biggest pain I've ever had in my life. And I want to say this straight out there for people listening too, because people might think I'm being all fucking conspiratorial and all that, and that's not the case at all. I know this is a real thing. I experienced it for 2 weeks. I mean, I've had flus and I've had bad flus, and you know yourself, Kyle. Us men get it, because we're so battle worn and stuff. That's why we get it. The women would
You know,
probably call us pussies, but no, we get it bad, man. And I had it like, dude, I went into the second week, and I swear to God, and me and you've talked about this before about back pain. I had it all the way. I mean, from the back of my neck all the way down to my spine to my fucking ass. And then the back of my legs and the back of my calves. It felt like someone like Peyton Manning had just fucking kicked the shit out of me for a while, or just literally, you know what I mean? It felt like somebody had just really danced all over my body. Like,
You were under large man attack.
hell yeah. Hell yeah. It was like if Mike Tyson in his sleep was just going jab, jab, jab. It's fucking
That
final, you know?
that would probably wake me up too.
Yeah, dude. Yo, fuck right. Yeah, it would. But no, dude, I swear to God, and I didn't officially have it then, but I swear to God, I mean, that was a 2 week flu. That's pretty much what they say COVID is. So that was without a doubt, it's real. It's just whether certain people, like you mentioned earlier, have the capability to, I guess, to fight it, and certain people don't. So without spending too much on the COVID disease and stuff like that, we just kind of just I guess we're kind of shooting the shit here and talking about how crazy a year it's been. But let's get on to some more lighter subjects so we can kind of give people something to look forward to going into
Sure,
2021.
sure. Don't let me ruin the party.
Oh, and me, dude. I'm the one that brought it up. Um, I always like to ask people what it's like for them, because obviously lockdowns and whatnot, and how certain cities and certain countries are dealing with it is all very, very different. And you guys were part of one of the most televised presidential debates in the world, which I'm not going to get into. So it's been a crazy year for a lot of people. Um, you have a new podcast out of it. Most importantly, Exhorder is still a thing, and Exhorder have some badass merch at the moment, and this is a perfect time to get a good plug in there for Exhorder and merch, and where
J-
people can find you. And I know in the States we have a lot of people listening in the States, so you can speak to those guys as well, and then you can explain how European customers can possibly get it as well.
Sure, sure. We've got our own web store at exhorder.com, and we do ship in the States and Canada. But Plastic Head Megastore in the UK is our solution for merchandise distribution. So they've got a page there for us. If you go to Plastic Head Megastore's website, just search Exhorder and you'll find it. Or you can, I think there's a link at exhorder.com that will take you directly to it.
Yeah,
So
there is. I checked it out. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we got all kind of stuff, man. We got Slaughter in the Vatican short sleeves and long sleeves. We got ladies t-shirts and tank tops. We've got skateboards. We got all kind of stuff. At the European store, it's a different selection. It's mostly shirts and vinyl, hoodies and
Dude,
stuff
that
like that.
vinyl, how good is that vinyl though? Oh my God. I mean, that's kind of vinyl
It's real
you
nice,
never want to open
especially.
it. You just want to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, we got the only one I don't have is the black. I've got all the other ones. We've got like a beer and black splatter, an orange one, and also what else? A clear one and like a brown marble. So
Oh,
there's
that sounds cool.
all those different versions that you can get. I'm not sure what they have at the mega store. I want to say that they've got the orange and the black and the maybe the brown marble vinyl. But I couldn't say for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, double vinyl, and the layout's just really amazing. The team that put that together really did an amazing job. It's after 27 years, I'm not so sure that we deserved that kind of love, but we got it, and we were grateful for it.
Are you kidding me? Shut the fuck up, Kyle. That's the
Well,
only
we
time.
kept leaving. When
That's
you
the
keep leaving,
Well, you ain't leaving now, are you?
nah, man, we're back, man. We're
Yeah.
definitely like a fungus.
Oh, and it's amazing to see. It's funny because before we done the show tonight, I was on the commute home, as they say, and I had a little mix, and I put the first two albums together, and I just said I'm gonna play on repeat. You know what I mean? Not play on repeat, play on shuffle, and it's so crazy. It's like, hearing the songs live now and then listen to it in its raw form. It's so beautiful. You know what I mean? It takes you back to a time where, you know, everything didn't need to be fucking edited and mastered perfectly. It didn't need to be overproduced. It's just raw. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's probably why, and you've told me this before. You think that's why there was such a loyal cult following to those first two records as well, um, because there was nothing, it was nothing overproduced or over. There was no prima donna bullshit about it. You know what I mean? They were there as raw as they could be, and fucking you either dug it or you didn't.
We probably would have had the prima stuff if we'd had the money to do it. But
Yeah, but it worked
the
out though, is what I'm saying.
simple fact is those two albums
I love that
sound,
honestly though.
they sound as good as they probably can based on what little budget we had and inexperience that we had making albums. To be honest with you, we didn't really fully know what we were doing. That now, as older musicians, that especially having been in the studio so many times with so many amazing engineers and producers, I can tell you, for me, I'm not going to advance any further until it sounds the way I want it to sound. And I don't know that I always did that in my career.
Yeah.
But now I know better. It's so much better to just take your time and do it right, so that you don't walk away from it and one day go, man, I wish I had a do-over on that. And in this day and age, with everybody being able to record at home, nobody should walk away from a recording thinking it's, not the best. And with so much software help, anybody that makes a terrible sounding recording should be ashamed of themselves, man. You can do so much with so little, and it just sounds like an album. It's incredible.
Yeah, especially like on YouTube, you've literally got like step-by-step guides for dummies, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's literally. I mean, do you ever think that actually sometimes that you'd love to go back and re-record those two albums? Is that something that you ever think that you
No,
like?
no, man. Like, we recorded, there's a demo that got lost. It was the very first Exhorder demo. It was 3 songs, and we did it like live. We recorded the whole thing live, or recorded it at one time, and then came back and laid a vocal track on top of it. I was 16. We did Legions of Death, Ripping Flesh, and Anal Lust. And when we recorded it, we weren't even called Exhorder yet. We were starting to go by a name called Masochist. It was Masakis. It was totally misspelled on purpose, but that's what we were going as. And it was just a few weeks after we recorded that thing that we went with Exhorder. But yeah, we recorded those 3 songs on that demo. Those 3 songs were also on Get Rude. Those 3 songs were 2 of those 3 songs were on Slaughter in the Vatican demo and album. So that's 2 of those songs were on 4 different recordings. I don't ever want to record those songs again unless somebody's recording me live.
I love it. I guess it's a question that I wanted to ask, because it's probably a question that somebody is looking at the screen right now and saying, ask him. You know what I mean? So,
Man, I would so much rather right now just focus on brand new music. I got plenty left in me. I don't need to sit there and try to go revisit that stuff.
yeah, you've definitely evolved. Like in terms of you've evolved as an artist. Obviously, you're as you mentioned many times before as well. Like obviously your lyrics have evolved as well in terms of 16-year-old kid versus married man with kids.
Yeah, it changes the way you think about things. That's for
Different.
sure.
Yeah, you don't want your daughters listening to a certain song on that album, and it's I get you. I hear that.
No, man, they freaking, my kids found it on their own because I didn't. I had people tell me all the time they love Exhorder. I'm like, they never heard it, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, I don't play that for them. They're little kids, man. They don't need to hear that shit. And some people I meet, they're like, "Yeah, man, tell them, like a little kid, what's your favorite song?" And the little kid goes, "Anal Lust." Like, it's just wrong with that to me, man. I don't know.
That's like every kind of wrong, right?
Like, come on, no. You like Walt Disney's greatest hits.
That's forever. That's forever haunting you, Kyle. Right? You know that.
Yeah, hey, dude, that's the worst when you're out somewhere with your family and some dude, hey, it lost. Like, yeah, we're at the checkout line at Chuck E. Cheese, man.
Seriously, it's broad daylight, dude. Oh man, talk about a bit of trouble actually, because you are of course still the lead singer of one of the greatest doom bands.
Indeed, I am. No matter how angry that might make some people.
Yeah, fuck those people. That's what I'm saying right now.
Man,
If you guys have made it this far in this particular podcast or video, now is the opportune time for Kyle to step aside and let me, as the host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, to tell you to take your fucking shit and fuck off, because we've already got the download now anyway, so we don't care. And if you don't like the fact that Kyle's the singer of Trouble, hell, we don't care. So, Kyle, floor is yours, my friend.
And I'm gonna tell you, I don't blame anybody for the way they feel. I'm a fan of the band too, and I have my feelings about certain replacements in other bands too. So I never get mad at people if they feel a certain way. I don't have the right to. That's their right,
Sure.
I do know this much. I love Trouble just as much as they do.
Yeah.
I was a fan before I was in the band, and it is really important to me that everything I do as the singer of Trouble is to honor the integrity of that band, and not just the band, but Eric Wagner as well. I'm a fan, I've met Eric. He's been very cordial to me. He reached out to me when I did get the job, and he just said, "Hey man, just have fun with it. Good luck." I was like, man, that's nice. I'd never had a conversation with him in my life, and he reached out and said that. I thought that was really cool.
That's super cool. That's super cool.
So yeah, some people just never dig Dio with Sabbath, and they might like Rainbow and Dio, but they just didn't like him in Sabbath. I didn't at first. It grew on me. I really think the biggest thing that pushed me away at first was there was, I guess, tension between the camps, and I was really into Ozzy. So I was like, I heard somebody say Ozzy rules, Sabbath rules. So I was like, yeah, like I don't, and then I'm listening to Sabbath. Well, why am I saying Sabbath drools? They don't drool. Sabbath rules, Ozzy rules, and Sabbath rules. And
I like a little bit of Neon Nights. I've no problem with that shit. Yeah.
I mean, my God, there's 3 or 4 really great albums they did with Dio.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Dude, go listen to After All the Dead and tell me that it sucks. I'll be like,
man,
I don't know what you're on. That's some badass Black Sabbath to me.
It's like for me, I'm a really big Skynyrd fan, right? And especially old school Skynyrd. Now I got to see, I mean, dude, those guys died in that plane crash, probably before I was born, or just closely thereabouts. But when I go back and listen to those old records, I'm like, oh man, I absolutely love it. Like, Give Me 3 Steps, all that stuff. And I'm like, when Donnie came in then and sang, I got to see them live as well in over here in Ireland in the Tree Arena, and it was a really cool experience to see, like, at least the keyboard player and all that, like so many original members. But I mean, so many people actually gave that guy shit because he wasn't.
And that's Ronnie's brother. I mean, it's
exactly. Do you know what I mean? And plus, he was going to.
Who else would you want there?
Yeah, I'm like, this is family, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, it might not be the exact same voice, but come on, dude. It's like I'll give an example, a perfect example. I've always been like, we're pretty fickle sometimes in sports over here, and I'm sure you guys are as well. Especially when you get a new head coach. When a head coach, for example, gets a gig. And then he gets the bullet, boom, forget about it. But you see his vision and you go, oh no, you got to give him more time, like I found that with Maiden, for example. I've always tried to take that element of my sport. I'm like, look, I like the team first and foremost. That's what matters. The team is what matters. The individuals come after, and I think it's the same in bands. I mean, I got into Maiden when Bruce Dickinson was the singer. So, of course, I wasn't around when the first two Maiden records hit the shelves, So my first Maiden album was like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And then when
I was alive for the first two, and I my first Iron Maiden that I ever heard was actually from The Number of the Beast, which is actually my least favorite of the first five albums. I tell it to people, they're like, "You're crazy." Like, no, it's still great. It's just that I find four other Iron Maiden albums better. That's it.
Better, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like Maiden have had like even poor what's his name? Oh, good Lord, I'm gonna get crucified for this now. Blaze Bayley, when he took over, I mean, he had the most impossible task of replacing Bruce Dickinson in the late.
Of course, man.
And don't forget, Bruce Dickinson had to replace Paul Di'Anno, and that's actually what made Iron Maiden shoot to the stratosphere. That whole charisma and that frontmanship that, let's be real. I think Bruce Dickinson still is probably one of the most iconic frontmen.
It could have been any singer, man. It could have been Glenn Hughes, it could have been David Coverdale. It could have been Rob Halford. If he comes in there, he's going to be taken seriously because he's great.
Exactly. And that's the point I'm making. I still went, you know what? I'm going to listen to the X Factor because this is the new singer. And I actually tried to pick things now that I like from that album. And I'm like, yeah, there is some good stuff there. You can see that the band were messing with some of the melodies and some of the kind of more experimental side of things and getting a lot more kind of you can tell they were listening to more Tin Lizzy and getting the kind of the harmonies and dual guitars down and stuff like that. And now obviously Dickinson's back. So I think that's the point I'm making in a long and winded way is that, yes, we all have our favorite singers and sometimes they go, or our favorite band members in general, and they go, but you got to stick by the band. You know what I mean? It's like you said, you're a fan of Trouble as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And some, to me, yeah, I get it, man. I'd be angry if somebody came in there and took a shit all over someone's legacy that I cared about,
Yeah.
So, but dude, all I can say is, if you don't dig the songs that I do with them, fine, but come see me sing the songs that were around before that. And if you don't like it after you see me live, well then fair enough, And
I'll call you a lawyer. I'll be the one in the crowd. I'm Kyle's plant. He'd be like, kick that guy's ass, Ian.
Nah, man, my point is,
that's a joke.
My point is totally just come see it live. If you don't like it after I do it live, well then, then I can't help you any further.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to end that particular, conversation. I think it's great what you guys have done. And I think for me personally, I think the songs that you did record so far are absolutely phenomenal. And
I meet a lot of their old friends that are like super fans. And like just friends of theirs at this point, from way back. And I've had a few of them tell me that they came and, kind of skeptical or, we kind of even didn't want to like it, but they've told me that like, you obviously care, you put your heart and soul to it and you sang your ass off. I'm like, I give a shit. I care,
But that's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, But why don't we, before we get back into some business, why don't we kind of segue a little bit for something that is a big passion of yours and a big passion for a lot of the fans here on the Dynamo Podcast Network, because we do have a football podcast, as you know, the Under Center podcast. It used to be formerly the ASI podcast, and me and a fellow Irishman tried to do our best in pretending that we knew about American football. And that is something that is a huge passion of you guys within my bubble in terms of what I know of New Orleans. All my friends, you and Levi and Phil and all those guys, you're all big, crazy fucking New Orleans Saints fans. And
yes,
that's so close. And it looks like you may possibly be seeing the last of a very special breed in Mr. Drew Brees.
Yeah, nobody wants to see him retire, obviously, because we've gotten so spoiled by his ability and his heart and
genius, basically.
Yeah, he's an incredible athlete, but the simple fact of the matter is time catches up with all the best ones,
Yeah.
and people are hanging on hope. I just don't. My money's on him just haven't had enough, man. He had like torn fascia, torn rotator cuff, and 11 broken ribs and a punctured lung, and missed 4 or 5 games and came back to finish the season. So if the dude threw 3 interceptions in the playoff game, that's probably got something to do with it.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I'm not trying to make excuses. He might have just had a bad game that day, but we're just not used to seeing it. He's had a handful of those games over the years, but mostly he's given us incredibly exciting football to watch. And there's very little in the world that's as fun to me as watching Drew Brees 10 minutes left in the game, down 15 points, come back and win it. I've seen it. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just think I watched his body language after this last game, and my feeling is that he's going to make an announcement soon that he's done. If he's not, I'll support him and watch again. I don't know how he's going to put another year into it. The last 2 years, he's just gotten the crap beat out of him, and he's always been a durable player. So I don't know. We shall see.
That was quite a heartwarming moment, wasn't it? When Tom Brady and Drew Brees kind of made that embrace. It was almost like Tom Brady was paying his own tribute to.
Oh, they're great friends.
Yeah, it was.
From what I
really
understand, they after the game, Tom Brady was throwing touchdown passes to Drew's sons on the field.
Yeah.
They were all hanging out. It's like these people hang out together.
So cool, wasn't it? Oh yeah, we're not breaking the fourth wall or anything. we're athletes and we kind of tend to know each other. But I mean, when you look at someone like Tom Brady and Drew Brees, I mean, Tom Brady looks like the stereotypical athlete, right? You know what I mean? He looks like he's fucking chiseled out of.
Oh, he's built for it for sure.
Yeah. Whereas Drew Brees just looked like your everyday guy. I'm not saying he's not in shape. Of course, the dude is in shape, but
right. But he's not 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He's in good shape for a guy his size, but he's not like a giant dude. He's, he made his career on quick reads and athleticism. He's
Just
able
the brain is
that pocket awareness, man, to be able to stand there and sense when to step up, because this pass rush is coming, and if you just step up, he's going to miss you because he's going so fast he can't. And when that's stuff that's hard to teach. I think that's stuff that a lot of that's just instinct.
Yeah,
like a running back making a cut left when the play is designed to go right. When you see something and go, I got this. That's what Drew Brees. That was one of his factors, man. And this guy, a lot of quarterbacks don't look past their first or second options unless they're really good. And he's a guy checked down to his fourth and fifth almost every other play. It's insane to watch the guy scan the field and then, okay, running back, there you go. A lot of times people just stand there kind of frozen and then pass rush, fumble. There you go.
Greatest moment in NFL history.
For me, when the Saints won the Super Bowl, of course.
Hell yeah, I watched that. It was my first Super Bowl, by the way. It was legitimately my first Super Bowl that I had watched. Yeah,
that's cool. That may actually be the second most favorite. The when Garrett Hartley kicked the Saints into the Super Bowl against the Vikings, the whole city went nuts. I mean, it might be as important as winning the Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah, because I remember that was 2008. Yeah.
That was the 2009 season.
09. 08.
Super Bowl 10. Super Bowl 20. Yeah.
Yeah, 08, 09 season, wasn't it? It was in 09, but it was the 08, 09 season. I always go like...
it was the 09-10 season.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Yeah. But that's why I don't pretend to be an expert on it. But I do remember watching it, and I remember a couple of my friends were going, you got to watch the Super Bowl. And I was like, well, who's playing? They were like, New Orleans. And I was kind of going, I like a lot of New Orleans music. I was like, are they they're not like the team, they're not like the Manchester United or the Chicago Bulls of the world where they're winning everything, are they? They were like, no, this is like New Orleans' chance to win. So I was like, okay, so they're almost underdogs. They were like, yeah, I suppose you could look at it that way. And I was like, I'm taking New
Colts were
Orleans.
favored.
Yeah.
The Colts were the favorite.
Yeah. So they were underdogs. Yeah. So New Orleans were underdogs.
Yeah.
So I was, and I always remember that. I can't remember the guy. It was a black guy who literally jumped and caught the ball. He done like this absolutely crazy move where it was going down, and he jumped, put his whole body on the line, and caught it, like literally in midair, like that. Caught the ball just before it
In
hit
the Super
ground.
Bowl.
Yeah, was it the Super Bowl or was it the build up to the Super Bowl? Was it the game before that? Possibly.
That season was magical, but there was so many.
There was a black guy with dreadlocks that played for the Saints at that time.
I'm trying to think of Mike McKenzie.
That's
Mike McKenzie. He was the cornerback that played for Green Bay for a long time, and he signed with the Saints midway through that season, I think, because we were getting thin at cornerback.
Yeah, I think he's the one that caught the fucking ball. It was about to drop, which meant the play would have stopped. But he literally threw his body on the line, caught it.
Wow, I don't even remember, man. There were just so many amazing, magical moments that season. You had Tracy Porter's interception return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. You had Robert Meacham. It was crazy. Like, I think he fumbled the ball into one of the other players' hands, and then that guy started taking off, and somehow he got it back. There was some crazy thing that happened like that. It was insane. Yeah, and he ran it back for. It's just that whole season. There was interceptions returned for touchdowns. Crazy.
Yeah, I just remember seeing that one moment, and people are probably thinking I'm crazy, but I know what I saw, and I was like, wow, I don't even know much of what's going on in this game, but that looked shit cool to me. You know what I mean? It was like he literally done like a fucking, basically it looked like he was going to land on his neck, but he didn't give a shit. He was like, I'm going to put my arm out here and I'm going to grab this ball, and if I break my neck in the process, so be it,
That's why they pay them the big money.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was awesome. So it was. So ever since then, I've been a Saints fan.
That's why it's more fun to watch them play than it is to watch like me play.
or me. You give me a football at my foot, I'm pretty decent. I can probably go for maybe 20 to 30 minutes at this age. I don't know. Even that seems like a stretch now.
I'm 50 and slow, man. I freaking I busted my elbow trying to catch a Frisbee about 6 months ago. Stupidest thing in the world.
Okay, it's game over for you, Kyle.
Yeah, man.
Let's get back into.
Give him the weights.
You what?
Just give him the light weights. Lots of reps.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he'd be fine. Just leave him in the corner and give him the light weights. He's not trying to build his arms at this point. He's trying to keep fit.
Just trying not to die here,
Trying to keep the heart rate going at a nice steady pace.
30 minutes 3 times a week.
There you go. Hell, I tell you what, you're doing more than some fucking young people. That's a fact.
Man, I try to tell my kids, man, don't get out of the habit of doing exercise when you're young, because when you start getting older and you decide to get back in, you're going to pay the price for it.
Oh, dude, like I try and say like one of the most underrated things to do, literally when you've got 20 minutes, 30, not even 20 minutes, you got 10 minutes, do as many push-ups as you can. Do even 3 reps of 20 if you can, or do them to failure.
Yeah.
You'll find after 2 to 3 weeks, you're like, shit, I'm getting a nice bit of shoulder and chest pulls here going on. And
yeah,
a little vein in my arm,
Push-ups work, and they work quickly.
Oh, push-ups work very, very quickly. I remember I was trying to go to the gym for a long time, and I was like, I'm doing the weights, and I'm like, shit, I'm still not getting that vein that I used to have in my arm. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's happened? Why isn't the vein popping up? And it's like, it's probably the amount of carbs you're eating, Ian, but, say nothing to anybody. But yeah, it was like, dude, literally 2 weeks of doing push-ups, I was like, shit, the veins are coming back, because it's such an underrated such an underrated exercise to do a few squats.
I think it gets lumped in with like calisthenics, and it's not. It's a workout, man. You're
No, it's
pushing
a
your
workout.
body.
It's a workout. I mean, like, listen, squats and push-ups.
Dude,
Also,
I tell you, you go to the dinner table and put your feet on one of the dinner chairs and stretch out and do 20 push-ups inclined like that. You'll see just how important it is
oh yeah,
to do push-ups, man.
and when done correctly as well. When done correctly, so many people fucking injure themselves because they're doing that big wide push-up and they're like, I'm like, yeah, you want to know why your shoulder is gone? Yeah, because you're literally fucking spreading your arms wider than your body is.
Yeah.
Get it nice and deep. Boom. Perfect.
Yep.
But well, there we go. That's training with Kyle and Ian right there. So look at those big burly boys.
just eat less and exercise, people. Stop looking for the miracle cure. That's the answer.
Well, you know what? Or eat more, but eat good.
You can do that too.
Yep. If you're looking to,
just got to burn the calories.
Absolutely, brother. So let's get back to before we kind of wind down here. Let's get back to the podcast. Obviously, KT's Hallowed Sound is available now, of course, on Anchor and Spotify and anywhere that you find your podcasts. For all of our European listeners, KT's Hallowed Sound is now going to be part of the Dynamo Podcast Network as well, which I am absolutely honored to be able to say that. And we'll be playing, obviously, whatever music Kyle wants to play. So we'll be playing exclusive songs that Kyle will play on a monthly basis. It is going to be a monthly podcast for the time being, with a view possibly to going bi-weekly eventually. I think that's the idea that you have at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's probably the way my life goes. It takes me forever to do anything. Just ask my wife. And so if I can just complete a few of these in 3 months in a row, and if there's interest in it for more, then and I've got the time to do it. That's contingent. That's what everything's contingent upon right there anyway, is my available time, because I'm writing and recording a new Exhorder album, a new Trouble album, a solo album, all these things I teach. I'm also, heavily a part of business operations for Exhorder. So, there's a lot of things I'm doing every single day, career wise, so Monday and Tuesday are my teaching days. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I maintain other aspects of the business that I got to do, merch, shipping, and whatever. And then for a lot of times Friday, I'll take to do things around the house that, a homeowner, a husband, a father needs to do. I can't abandon my family just because I've got all this stuff to take care of. Good news is our children are grown-ups now, and most of the time they all don't want me around anyway, because I'm kind of a grouch.
Yeah, well,
but they love me. I know they love me.
I got to see that the other night. Well, I got to hear you say it the other night. I didn't necessarily see you being a grouch, but yeah, you basically.
No, they're like, oh, he's nice to you. You like, you don't live here.
Yeah. Yeah, the wife was kind of go, yeah, he's nice to you, but you don't see him all.
Oh, Lord. No, man, we've got a really good, close family, and we've got wonderful kids and just a great network of friends. I couldn't. The only thing I could really need more of in my life is just things to get back to normal, so I can get this business up and rolling. And I think everybody always craves for financial stability, these things, but you always end up freaking living within your means, and then, oh man, I gotta pay for the Maserati. Or
yeah, dude.
Not that I'm like, you don't want me driving a Maserati. I'm such an old pawpaw, man. I drive so slow. I'd be boring in a sports car.
Yeah,
But man,
you don't need to be a Maserati. No.
It'd be fun to drive one. My point is I've got all that I need. I don't need anything else, but a little more comfort here and there. I think everybody on this, probably could agree. Creature comforts are nice, man. So until then, I'm living a happy life, man. I'm the poorest famous person you'll ever meet.
You know what? I love it. And guess what? There's a lot to be said in that, and there's a beautiful kind of satire, I suppose, in what you said there. Because you're not a poor man. You've got everything that you need.
Oh,
You're enriched.
I'm very rich with what I have at home.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not going hungry anytime soon.
Hell no.
And that's you know that's why I suppose people like you and me do become friends. You know what I mean? Because it's like you see a realism with people. You get to kind of meet people that you kind of look at and you listen to, should I say? You listen to and you look at and you go, oh man, that's such a hell of a singer, blah blah blah. And like there's old sayings, oh, never meet your heroes and whatnot. And I've been very lucky. I'm just gonna say I've been very lucky with the likes of yourself and the things that you've hooked up for me on this podcast before. I mean, let's just say it right now, Phil Anselmo wouldn't have appeared on this podcast if it wasn't for Kyle Thomas right here.
Well, man, he's an old friend. He's happy to do that kind of stuff, and I'm happy to help bridge that.
Absolutely, and it was nice to be able to kind of you created a friendship there based off the back of that as well. You're still always going to be my number one. Don't worry, even if Phil's listening. That's
man. As long as I'm not number two.
Well, there you go. See, you'll see Phil on in 3 weeks. You'll be like, Phil, you'll always be number one. Don't worry. And so is Kyle. Both of you are number one. No.
What was it? Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield said that in Back to School. Got to look out for number one. Just be careful you don't step in number two.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's absolutely it. Yeah. No, it's true. You've done a lot for me, so it's really cool to be able to kind of see you now getting into the podcast world. I think it's doing really well. Obviously, you're doing great numbers at the moment so far. You're getting good feedback from your end, so I can't wait to kind of blast it and unleash it from our side as well, and hear have people kind of listen to what you're all about. Listen to this podcast. People should know what you're all about anyway.
I've got a lot of good feedback from it, man. A lot of people say they can't wait for the next episode, really enjoyed it. Some people I'd never met in my life, some people that are old friends. So yeah, I'm sure there's probably some people that think it sucks, but it is what it is. I just thought it might be cool to get out there and just kind of be myself and record it and let everybody hear it.
The people that think it sucks, they're the people you want listening to.
Yeah, tell everybody how terrible it is, so they want to hear how terrible it is, and then you're spreading it for them.
Absolutely, dude. Any publicity is good publicity. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? Please,
you gotta go listen how bad this guy sucks.
Please give us those negative feedbacks. But hit the thumbs down on our shows. It's fine. It's no problem, because all it does is help us. It's traction.
That's crazy.
No, I think it's a pleasure. Obviously, people can find you, like I mentioned, everywhere that you listen to podcasts. KT's Hallowed Sound podcast. It is going to be exclusively part of the Dynamo Podcast Network over here in Europe as well, and we're going to be working together in kind of producing that from this side too. And I think it's a great show. Like I say, I think it's raw. It's really well produced in the sense that you've got a good speaking voice as people can hear anyway now. So hearing the audio without the visual, I think, is good. I'm an old school advocate for that. I love old radio and Art Bell and stuff like that, and I really do love old. There's an art to it. You know what I mean? We all look at the BBC, the old kind of horror shows where you just have to listen to like 10 minutes of like, Van Helsing chasing Dracula. We always had that over when I was young, and I had them on tapes, and these were like from the 50s and 60s, and my granddad would give them to me, and I'd put them in my little Walkman, and I'd be in
right.
when I was supposed to be asleep, I was in bed listening to this shit, absolutely terrified. You know what I mean?
Of course.
No wonder I'm crazy. Um, but there's just such a beautiful, I find anyway, there's such a beautiful innocence to old school radio. Just one man and a mic, and kind of bearing a soul and speaking like that. So I think you absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I certainly can't wait
Well,
to hear this
I'm
show.
really just kind of winging it, you know. But I've got some cool ideas, and I've got a few things that I'm going to do with episode 2 that are a little different from the first one, but I think it'll add to it. So it's evolving already. Just
I love it.
2 episodes.
I love it. Well, I suppose that's about it for this episode of Dynamo's Dozen. If there's anything else you want to plug before we go, I'm more than happy for you to have the floor.
I mean, we pretty much covered everything. I'm just grateful that you invited me on as a guest, and if anybody's listening, thank you for giving a shit. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. It's all the pleasure is all yours, as they say. No, I'm only joking. The pleasure is all mine, my friend.
Pleasure is all yours.
I stole that from a good friend who's a wrestling magazine writer over here in Ireland and the UK, Mr. Finn Martin. So if he's listening, he's definitely got my. I owe you one, brother. Sorry about that.
Man.
But no, it's been a pleasure. We're going to keep in touch. Obviously, we'll get this out. Probably this will drop when. Well, there's no point in me saying when it will drop because the people that are listening know that it's dropped right now. But we will, because you're listening. Because you're listening. Hey.
Do you need another beer?
It's 3:55 in Ireland in the AM right now, so
yeah, man.
I think I'm doing pretty good, all things considering.
Yeah. Absolutely, your English is fantastic.
You what?
Your English is fantastic right now.
Hey, we were taken over by them a long time ago, so I had no choice but to get good at it. But to get good at it, you know. So.
Yeah. Do people still speak Gaelic like any people at all? Like I don't know much about it.
We do.
Or is that just an ancient? Is that an archaic language
now? If you go
like I'm not even trying to be a smart aleck. Like here in Louisiana, there's people that speak Cajun French and don't speak any English or very little. So
we have over on the west of Ireland we have islands called like the Aran Islands, and we've certain schools called like the Gaeltacht, which would only speak Irish. You know, even though they have the ability to speak English, it's not like we don't have like plates in our lips or any shit like that. But they, you know,
but they keep that part of history alive.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
It's still part of the curriculum. It's still part of the curriculum over here in Ireland that you got to speak Ireland. Got to speak Irish within the schools. Like I can speak a little bit. Like I can say, you know, I could say certain things. You know, Rachel, my partner, like she's really good at Irish. She could still pretty much have a conversation. You know what I mean? And
wow.
Whoa. But I'd know how to say, you know, stuff about myself. If I was, you know, being interviewed by someone, I'd probably be able to wing it. Not great, a little bit more rusty. You know, I'd like to know more, put it that way. But yeah, it's just kind of, hey, it's the Great British Empire, right? They came and just took shit off people, and here we are.
And colonization has happened for thousands of years at this point, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, as Johnny Rotten said, God save the Queen. And we know what followed that sentence, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah,
man. You know, it's the French did it. Kublai Khan. You're talking about Genghis Khan.
Spanish.
Yeah. This just, I think people get so overpowered with, you know, greed for money and riches that it just causes complete freaking chaos and how people behave. I mean, money is great. Money's wonderful when you got it, but money can also be miserable when you've got it. So
essentially what you're saying is fuck the Brits, yeah?
no, man. No, man. They did that here a long time ago. I got no problem with the Brits.
I'm only kidding. Well, you're an Irishman as well, don't forget. Don't say that too loudly. No, it's cool.
And it's one of the greatest parts of being a touring musician is going, and I recommend anybody, not everybody's going to be a touring musician in their life, but if you get a chance to travel the world and meet other people, I think it's a huge factor in how you look at people. You go travel the world and you start seeing people in their environment and understand how they work versus what our day-to-day routines are, how different they may be. I think it opens your eyes a little bit more and maybe opens your mind a little bit more to how it's okay to be different,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, we joke and we kind of like, but I've been brought up on British culture as well as, I'm an Irishman. I'm a proud fucking 100% pure blood Irishman as far as I know. I think we probably have a little bit of a Italian or Spanish in there as well somewhere along the line. But as far as I know, we're pretty much mostly Irish. And I mean, without me getting the opportunity to go to the UK when I was young and learn how to wrestle professionally, and without that education over there and being accepted, and listen, Irish people, we follow British sports. I mean, like, my favorite football team is Chelsea Football Club, which is a big club in London. So it's like we tease each other nowadays. You know what I mean? We tease each other, and it's kind of like, hey,
I know.
We'll never forget what you did, but we're cool. We're cool. It's
the same with the Scots and them. I mean.
Oh, well, the Scots are pussies because they had they had the opportunity to vote for their independence about 3 years ago, and they chose to stay in the UK. And then they were like, "Oh shit,
can we about that,
can we have that vote again?" They were like, "Can we have that vote again? We actually want to go again." And we're like, "Nah, fuck you. You made your bed now." Whereas
that's all me, man. I don't know any of that.
Ireland is the only country, and this is a fact. And this is why the Brits respect the Irish as well. Only country, an island, a tiny little fucking island. Because when you think about the UK, 75 to 80 million population. Ireland, even now, at its highest population of all time, is 5 million. And we ran them motherfuckers back. The Vikings. Back in the day, the Vikings, when they were trying to invade England, they wanted to go on a long roundabout route. And when they came across Ireland and saw the Celts, true story, back in the day, they were all standing basically naked with fucking, sticks, like weapons made out of fucking sticks and plaster. And the Vikings even turned around and said that they're more hassle. They look like they're more trouble than it's worth. You know what I mean? So it's an incredible island, Ireland, and it's I'm super proud to be Irish, but and our heritage, like, but for an island so small, our culture and our seed was planted everywhere. Very very fertile, little people.
For only having been there about 24 hours, I absolutely fell in love with it, and I felt so at home, and the people were so welcoming, and especially upon learning of my heritage. And I had so many people just tell me welcome home, and like, I couldn't believe it. I always dreamed of going to Ireland and just
we spoke about that before in the build-up. Remember, even a couple of years before you had that opportunity, you had always said to me, like, dude, it's my dream to get home to the motherland.
Yes.
I saw that video, of course, when you got out onto that green land, and you were like, wow, this is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I got down and kneeled and bowed down to the ground. Yeah.
It was awesome, dude. It was awesome.
I mean, it was it was just grass in between the sidewalk and the parking lot at the gas station,
Yeah.
but it was Irish grass.
No, but that is something, like, for me, that means a lot, because I mean, for me, I always, like, as a kid growing up, when you look at look at all your favorite movies, like for me it was like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and
Yep,
all of my favorite
that makes
Marvel,
sense.
all my favorite Marvel comic stuff and all, and like
Yep.
seeing New York and seeing places. So for me, when I got the opportunity a couple of years back to go and see Orlando, in Florida, just to actually touch down, and the first place I touched down in was actually North Carolina. Even though I was in the airport, I was like, I am in Ric Flair country. Woo! I was like, I'm honored just to say that I'm in Ric Flair country right now. And it's, even though America's like, for a lot of us, especially even my age group, which I'm not too old. I mean, I'm 36 years old, but, you know, for my age group, we grew up in working class families, especially my family anyway. We didn't get those holidays to the United States. You know what I mean? Like a lot of guys in school, oh, I've been to America 3 or 4 times, and you're like, fuck you, you rich asshole. You're
Right.
like, it's that bitterness, fuck you, man. Um, Dude, being able to go over there with Rachel was just, and see Disneyland and see Universal and see where, so many great memories have happened. Like, I mean, when I got to the Jaws part and saw Jaws hanging up, that famous fish hanging upside down, I was like, dude, this is something I watched with my grandfather. It was just like,
Exactly.
so I get what you're saying, like being able to come over and you being so in tune with your ancestry. I completely get where you're coming from with kind of a even kneeling down to a little bit of grass by a gas station. That's good enough.
It's funny. I really think my grandfather, who was 100% of Irish descent, I think it meant less to him than it meant to all of his children and grandchildren. Like for us, we all really like, and I don't know. I don't think he thought that much about it, really, to be
Well, you
honest
take
with you.
it for granted. So your actual direct grandfather was 100% Irish. So that's pretty fucking, like, that's
Yeah,
very close in
his,
the bloodline. Yeah.
I can't remember if it was his parents that came over or his grandparents that came over. He was born in 1918. So it was either the generation that he was born of.
I would
Um,
say that makes sense to me, because don't forget that's not long after the Titanic. So that's when Irish were just flooding over. You know what I mean? It would have been around that time. I would
yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
I would imagine.
But he never even met his father. His father died of the flu epidemic in 1918, and it was a
Spanish
few
flu.
months before.
Spanish flu. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just a couple of months before he was born, his father died, and uh, I think he was the youngest, so I think his mother might have been a little tired of chasing after kids, and if it's my understanding, if my mother has advised me correctly, that she was a bootlegger, so
Ah,
so I think she sold. I don't know if she sold whiskey or beer out of her house,
that's
but
pretty
she was
cool.
boot.
Oh, I'll
Yeah,
tell you one thing. This is a story. Like, I mean, we won't get into this because we could get shut down. But when the troubles up, even up north, as we all know, the troubles between Belfast and Ireland and England and all that, the troubles up north, the women were some of the hardest bitches on the planet. And I say bitches with love. I mean, these women, you know, they opened the doors to the black and tans, as they were called, those police officers that were just absolute bottom feeding fucking lowlifes. And they just stood there and they were like, yeah. And they were harboring guys under their fucking floorboards. You know what I mean? These women had no fear. Irish women, I'll tell you one thing. It's funny, when I
don't
was,
piss them off.
when I was a single man, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go over to America and get me an American woman. I have an Irish woman now. She'll listen to this show. You'll meet Rachel eventually, but she would kick my ass. You know what I mean? They don't take shit.
Oh, of course not, man. Of
Anybody.
course not.
It's a great. No, we are a little nation of crazy people, and the Irish men back in those days, in particular, that you're talking about, definitely liked. They liked the pussy for sure, because They spread it. They spread their fucking seed far and wide, you know. let's not like kind of sugarcoat it, but yeah, man, they were the hardest working people in the world at that time, you know, and you know, they built America. That's what they say. The Irish built America, and it's very.
My grandfather helped build the streets of New Orleans.
There you go, and that's what was really cool when you told me.
And then he was chief of the New Orleans Fire Department for many years.
And
then he went to captain. He was captain. He made it to captain.
Did he play in any of the pipe bands? Did he play in any of the pipe bands? No.
Oh no. He had a voice like Bing Crosby. Nice. He sang beautifully.
Nice.
But he was painfully shy to sing in front of people. He was not shy to make an ass out of himself in a barroom, making people laugh, putting on a show. But he would never have sang in front of anybody. And it was a damn shame because he was that good. And I guess that's where I inherited it from, because really nobody else in my family before me were like accomplished musicians. I'm pretty much the first one.
It's crazy.
My brother came along, and I've got a cousin that plays, and my nephews play a little bit too. So, but I was really the first one that like got into lessons, really went after it with the trumpet, you know.
It's crazy to think, isn't it? Because my grandfather, who I was really close with, he died when I was 9, but I was really close with him up until that point. He actually taught. He was in the original Irish Army back in the day, and he worked for the AA, which was basically the emergency response that we had over here in Ireland. But he was actually a really incredible drummer in the pipe band. He was really, really good snare drummer, and
right.
He actually taught my dad's cousin, Chris Kelly, his name is now, who also went into the army, and he's now one of the leading drummers of the pipe band within the army as well. So my granddad had this really cool idea that he would, instead, because they couldn't afford drums back then, right? They couldn't exactly go out and buy 3 or 4 snares, you know, to kind of teach people. So what he used to do was he'd get a block of wood, right? And he'd lay rubber padding down, like 5-6 layers on, and just teach them with the drumsticks on that, because the sound traveled through into the wood, and they'd get the exact same sound and the same bounce that you would get off a snare.
Oh, wow.
And he used to have 3 or 4 guys over every night in his kitchen, just teaching them how to play the drums. Like, so it's a really, really cool stories, you know.
No doubt.
Yeah. So, but there we go. We're at getting some added bonus content here for listeners here going, whoa, it's a little bit of insight into Kyle and his family heritage, and really cool. So I think until next week from me, Dynamo's Dozen, I am Ian Kelly. I am over now, and I will let Kyle have the last word. For the first time ever on Dynamo's Dozen, I'm usually the one that speaks for the guest and says goodbye, but I'll let you take us out on this show here.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that's listened, especially the people listened for the 8,000 minutes that we've been talking here about a whole bunch of, not a bunch of nothing. No, really, seriously, it's nice to be able to have this opportunity to do this for all the good people out there, and can't wait to get out there and play again. Hopefully we don't have a repeat of getting things postponed, and hopefully things don't get canceled outright. So hang in there. We're trying to get to y'all. In the meantime, writing a lot of music, and other than that, just living day to day, trying to make it. That's about it. So thanks to everybody for entertaining this old man over here, and we'll see you soon.